Your credit card is not your emergency fund. It feels like one because when life hits you, the card is right there. The car breaks down, the dentist sends a bill, the insurance payment is due, your phone stops working, your rent goes up, your kid needs something, your family needs help. And in that moment, the credit card feels like rescue. You swipe it, tap it, enter the numbers, and the problem disappears for a few seconds. The bill is paid. The panic goes quiet. You can breathe again. But here is the part most people do not see until later. The credit card did not solve the emergency. It turned the emergency into a payment plan. And that payment plan is now going to follow you into next month and the month after that, and sometimes the year after that. That is why so many people feel like they are always recovering from something. They are not just paying for today, they are still paying for the last thing that happened, and the thing before that, and the thing before that. This is how a credit card becomes dangerous. Not because credit cards are evil, not because using a credit card automatically means you are irresponsible. A credit card is a tool, but when you use a credit card as your emergency fund, you are using debt as a replacement for cash. And debt is not cash. Cash gives you space. Debt gives you pressure. Cash creates options. Debt creates obligations. Cash absorbs the hit. Debt moves the hit into your future paycheck. And if your future paycheck was already tight, now it has even less room to breathe. Most people do not get buried by one huge purchase. They get buried by normal life happening while they have no cash buffer. A $300 car repair, a $400 medical bill, a $200 utility surprise, a birthday trip, a school expense, a last-minute flight, a higher grocery month. One expense by itself does not look dramatic. You tell yourself, I will just put it on the card and pay it off next month. And sometimes you do. But then next month arrives, and next month already has rent, groceries, gas, insurance, phone bill, credit card minimums, subscriptions, and all the normal pressure of life. So instead of paying the card off, you pay part of it. Then another expense happens. Then the balance grows. Then the minimum payment grows. Then the interest starts eating money that used to be yours. And slowly, without one dramatic disaster, your credit card stops being a backup plan and becomes a monthly bill. That is the trap. The card starts as emergency protection, then turns into another emergency. It is like borrowing oxygen from tomorrow because today feels suffocating. But tomorrow still needs oxygen too. A lot of people say, I use my credit card for emergencies only. But then ask yourself honestly, what counts as an emergency? Is car insurance an emergency if it comes every 6 months? Is Christmas an emergency if it comes every year? Is a phone replacement an emergency if you know phones eventually break? Is car maintenance an emergency if you drive every day? Is a medical copay an emergency if health expenses are part of life? Some things are painful, annoying, and badly timed, but they are not always true emergencies. They are predictable life costs that never got assigned money. And when predictable costs have no cash waiting for them, they attack your credit card. This is why your emergency fund matters, not because saving money is cute, not because financial people love telling you to budget. Your emergency fund is what stands between a problem and a balance. Without it, every surprise becomes debt. With it, the same surprise becomes an inconvenience. That difference is huge. A flat tire with no emergency fund feels like panic. A flat tire with $500 saved feels annoying, but survivable. A medical bill with no cash feels like a credit card charge. A medical bill with cash feels like a bill you can handle. The goal is not to make life perfect. The goal is to stop normal problems from becoming long-term debt. And this is where many people get stuck, because they think an emergency fund has to be huge before it matters. They hear 3 to 6 months of expenses, and they immediately feel defeated. They think, I can barely save $50, so what is the point? But the first emergency fund does not need to be perfect. It needs to interrupt the cycle. Even $500 can stop a small emergency from becoming a credit card balance. Even $1,000 can protect you from a lot of everyday chaos. It may not protect you from everything, but it protects you from more than zero. And zero is the number that keeps pushing people back to the card. The first goal is not financial freedom. The first goal is not becoming rich. The first goal is to create space between a bad day and a bad balance. Because once a balance starts carrying over, the credit card company gets paid before your future does. Think about that. When you carry debt, your paycheck already has a claim on it before it even arrives. Part of next month belongs to last month. Part of your future income is already assigned to old problems. That is why credit card debt feels so heavy. It is not just the number. It is the feeling that your money is gone before you touch it. You get paid and the money immediately starts leaving. Minimum payment, interest, past purchases, old emergencies, things you barely remember buying. That is why people look at their paycheck and say, where did it go? Sometimes it went to life. Sometimes it went to choices. But sometimes it went to the past. And the past is expensive when it has interest attached. The minimum payment is the part that makes the trap feel safe. The statement says you only have to pay $30, $60, $100, and your brain relaxes. It feels manageable. But the minimum payment is not designed to set you free quickly. It is designed to keep the account alive. It keeps you current, but not necessarily free. You can make the minimum payment and still move backward, because interest is quietly working against you. That is why a balance can feel like it never dies. You pay, but it does not shrink the way you expected. You pay, but the number barely moves. You pay, and then life happens. So you use the card again. This is the loop. Swipe, minimum, interest, stress, swipe again. And every time the loop repeats, your cash flow gets weaker. The dangerous part is that credit cards make emergencies feel less urgent in the moment. If you had to pay cash, you would feel the cost immediately. You would pause. You would look at the numbers. You would ask, do I have enough? But with a credit card, the pain is delayed. That delay feels like relief, but it can hide the real cost. A $400 emergency does not feel like $400 when you put it on a card. It feels like future you will handle it. But future you is not richer just because the bill arrives later. Future you has groceries too. Future you has rent too. Future you gets tired too. Future you also has emergencies. And when you keep handing future you every problem, eventually future you becomes broke before the month begins. This is why the question is not, can I put it on the card? The question is, what will this do to my next paycheck? That question changes everything. If the answer is, it will steal next month's breathing room, then the card is not solving the problem. It is relocating the problem. And sometimes you have no choice. That needs to be said clearly. If you have no cash and something truly necessary happens, you may use the credit card, because that is the only option in front of you. No shame, no moral lecture. Real life is messy. People use credit cards for survival all the time. But survival mode should not become the plan forever. The goal is not to feel guilty for using the card. The goal is to build a system where the card is not your only protection. Shame does not pay debt. Structure does. So what do you do if your credit card has become your emergency fund? First, stop pretending the card is safety. Safety is money you own. A credit limit is money you can borrow. Those are not the same thing. If your credit card has a $10,000 limit, that does not mean you have $10,000. It means a company is willing to lend you $10,000 at a high price if you need it. That is not wealth. That is access to debt. Access to debt can be useful, but it is not the same as stability. Stability is when a bill arrives and you do not need permission from a lender to survive it. Second, build a small cash buffer before trying to look perfect. If you have credit card debt, you may feel like every extra dollar should go to the debt immediately. And yes, paying down high-interest debt matters. But if you send every spare dollar to the card and keep no cash, what happens when the next surprise comes? You use the card again. That is why some people pay debt for months and still end up with the same balance. They are attacking the debt, but they have no defense. You need both offense and defense. Debt payments are offense. Cash savings are defense. Without defense, every new problem undoes your progress. Start with a small emergency buffer. $500, $1,000, whatever is realistic enough that you will actually do it. Put it somewhere separate from your checking account. Not hidden forever, but not sitting right next to your spending money either. You want it visible enough to trust, but separate enough to protect. Third, decide what counts as a real emergency before emotions take over. Write it down if you have to. Job loss, medical need, essential car repair, necessary home repair. Something urgent, necessary, and unexpected. Not boredom, not a sale, not a vacation upgrade. Not a lifestyle purchase that feels urgent because you are tired. This matters because when you are stressed, everything can feel like an emergency. A tired brain wants relief. A stressed brain wants the fastest exit. A lonely brain wants comfort. A pressured brain wants to say yes. And the credit card is always ready to help you avoid the uncomfortable feeling. But not every uncomfortable feeling deserves interest. Fourth, create sinking funds for the expenses that keep pretending to be emergencies. Car maintenance, annual bills, insurance, holidays, medical, gifts, travel, technology, home repairs. These are the categories that usually ambush people. If you know a cost is likely to happen, give it a small monthly assignment. Even $20 a month is better than nothing. The point is to stop acting shocked by things that repeat. If your car needs repairs every year, your car is talking to you. If holidays hit your credit card every year, the calendar is talking to you. If annual subscriptions surprise you every year, your bank statement is talking to you. Listen before the bill arrives. Fifth, make the credit card harder to use when emotions are high. You do not have to cancel everything. You do not have to live like credit cards do not exist. But you can add friction. Remove saved cards from shopping apps. Do not keep every card in your wallet. Turn off one-click payments. Unsubscribe from promotional emails that make spending feel urgent. Move the card away from the moments where you are weakest. Friction is not punishment. Friction is protection. The easier it is to spend borrowed money, the more likely borrowed money becomes your default. Sixth, stop using available credit as emotional comfort. This one is subtle. A lot of people feel calm because they know they have room on the card. They think, if something happens, I can handle it. But what they really mean is, if something happens, I can borrow. That is not the same as handling it. Handling it means the problem ends when you pay for it. Borrowing means the problem continues after the moment is over. You want your comfort to come from cash, not credit. You want to look at a savings account and feel protected, not look at an unused credit limit and feel protected. Seventh, if you already have a balance, separate old debt from new spending. This is important. When you keep using the same card while trying to pay it down, the number becomes confusing. You cannot tell if you are making progress because new charges keep mixing with old debt. If possible, stop adding new charges to the card you are paying off. Use cash or debit for daily life while you attack the old balance. If you need a card for a required bill, make sure you have the cash ready before the charge hits. The rule is simple. The card should not create a balance you cannot pay. It should not turn daily life into future debt. Eighth, pay attention to the moment right after an emergency. Most people use the card, feel relief, and then avoid looking at the damage. Do the opposite. After the emergency, make a recovery plan immediately. How much did it cost? How fast can you pay it down? What category should exist so this does not happen again? Did this reveal that your car fund is too small? Your medical fund is empty? Your insurance category does not exist? Every emergency teaches you where your system is weak. If you listen, the next version of your budget becomes stronger. If you ignore it, the same type of problem comes back wearing a different outfit. Ninth, stop thinking of credit card payoff as only a math problem. It is also a cash flow problem. Yes, interest rates matter. Yes, balances matter. But the real question is, how much of your future income is already promised to the past? If your minimum payments are eating your margin, then every month starts under pressure. That pressure makes you more likely to use the card again. So the goal is not just to reduce the balance. The goal is to free your paycheck. Every extra dollar of payment is not just lowering debt, it is buying back future breathing room. That is a powerful way to see it. You are not just paying a company, you are rescuing your next month. 10th, do not wait until you feel motivated. Motivation is not a financial plan. Motivation usually arrives after pain. You get angry at the balance, make a big payment, promise to change everything, and then 2 weeks later, life gets busy. A system works when motivation disappears. Automatic transfers help. Calendar reminders help. Separate accounts help. Spending limits help. Weekly check-ins help. You need boring tools because boring tools keep working after your emotions calm down. The people who get out of credit card debt are not always the people with the strongest willpower. They are often the people who reduce the number of decisions they have to make. They make saving automatic. They make spending visible. They make debt payments scheduled. They make emergencies less dependent on panic. And over time, the card loses power. That is what you want. You want the credit card to go back to being a tool, not a life support system. You want to know that if the card disappeared tomorrow, your whole financial life would not collapse. That is real safety. Real safety is not a shiny card in your wallet. Real safety is money set aside before life demands it. Real safety is an emergency fund that does not charge interest. Real safety is a budget that remembers the bills your brain forgets. Real safety is a paycheck that is not already owned by last month's problems. If you are relying on credit cards right now, start small. Do not try to fix your whole life in one weekend. Save the first $100, then $200, then $500, then $1,000. Pay more than the minimum when you can. Stop adding new charges where you can. Build one sinking fund. Remove one saved card. Cancel one leak. Look at the balance once a week, even if it makes you uncomfortable. The number loses some power when you stop hiding from it. And every small move is a vote for a future where emergencies do not automatically become debt. You are not trying to become perfect. You are trying to become harder to knock over. That is the point of an emergency fund. It does not make bad things disappear. It keeps bad things from owning your future. So the next time you feel tempted to call your credit card your emergency fund, pause. Ask yourself, is this protection or is this a payment plan? Is this solving the problem or sending it to my next paycheck? Is this a true emergency or a predictable bill I never prepared for? Those questions may feel uncomfortable, but they can save you years of interest. Because the card is easy, the swipe is easy, the minimum payment looks easy, but carrying the past every month is hard. Paying interest on old stress is hard. Watching your paycheck disappear before you can use it is hard. Building cash is slow, but it is honest. Paying down debt is slow, but it gives your future back. And one day, when something goes wrong and you pay with money you already saved, you will feel the difference immediately. No panic, no new balance, no interest clock starting. Just a problem, a payment, and your life moving forward. That is what cash can do that credit never can. Credit gives you time, but cash gives you peace. And peace is the real emergency fund.